Hey y'all, so this is the second video in my Healing and Faith series, and I hope that it will be a help and a blessing to someone. If you haven't seen the first one, I'll link it right here. One of the main reasons I started my YouTube channel was to share my testimony, how God has brought me through a very, very difficult season in my life, and to hopefully encourage and help someone else in their difficult time. When you go through difficult times or hard seasons in your life, so many things will hurt you. You just kind of become a target for hurt. It's like everything is just painful. This is why it's so important to get away, get quiet, get to yourself. Take care of yourself. Hide yourself in God. Everyone may not understand how you're coping with your situation. Everyone is different. They may not understand your method of coping, but do what's best for you. Because a lot of times, are they even asking you how you're coping, how you're doing? Probably not. It's very, very few people that reach out to you during those seasons and just really say, I'm praying for you. How are you doing? Many may be praying for you and thinking of you, but it's rare that people reach out to you to ask you how you're doing or how you're coping. It's more so just you become a topic of conversation. That's just keeping it real. So my point is, do what's best for you. Make sure you're healthy. And I mean good things. I don't mean getting out of God's will, making bad choices, trying to compete with a person that's hurt you or with a situation that's hurting you. Be careful. Be still. Oftentimes when we're going through hurtful situations, our virtue becomes very low and we become very vulnerable. So again, be careful. Do what's good for you. Your mental health is so important when you're going through these times. Both your mental health and your emotional health. So slow things down and take care of you. Focus on that. When I was going through my seasons of trials, a very difficult situation in my life a few years ago, I realized how very vulnerable I was. Never thought of myself as a vulnerable person, but in that season of my life, I became very vulnerable. So eventually, I just pressed pause on everything because so many things were coming at me, so many things were hurting, were bothering me, and I just pressed pause. It was the best decision I ever made. I paused some friendships. I paused some activities at church. I paused a lot of things in my life, and it was the best thing for me at that time. It gave me the space that I needed to heal. I did have those that I truly trusted and could confide in, a very, very small few, but I had a few. I had a few friends that I could call and talk to and share with, and they were so encouraging to me and uplifting. You also have to know your circle, who you can trust, who you can talk to. Some people are just not healthy. They're more toxic than they are helpful when you talk to them. So be careful who you share with. Most of all, I talked to God. For almost the first whole year of me going through a difficult season, I didn't share with anyone. I just pulled it all the way in. It was just me and God. Because not only was I trying to figure out a very, very complex situation, I was also trying to figure myself out. You can go through things that are so difficult that you have to figure out who you are in that moment, seriously. And then sometimes when you're going through the worst times, people will say things to you that are just the wrong thing to say. The silliest things at the silliest times, and you have to keep your attitude right and understand that humans are fickle. The tricky thing is that there are two sides to the situation. You have some people that unknowingly hurt you. They hurt you innocently. And you have to be mature enough to get the benefit of the doubt and not always jump to conclusions or be upset with everyone around you. Stress and hurtful times can make you extremely defensive. Step back, breathe, and make sure you aren't taking everything the wrong way. Yes, there may be some people that are happy that you're going through a hard time. There may be, a person that may have been jealous of you or had an issue with you and they're happy to see you going through. But there are people that really do love you and they mean well and they may say things that they don't know is offending you or going to offend you. So you have to be really careful with that. You may feel like everyone's against you or everyone doesn't care, but there are people that care about you in that time, and don't let the enemy tell you otherwise. Some people genuinely care. Some are genuinely praying for you. I felt the prayers of the saints from my church, and my friends, and I felt their prayers, when I was going through my hard time, and I appreciated them. You're going to have the people who are like, I'm glad she's going through this, or I'm glad, people that are jealous of you, envious of you, especially if you're an attractive person, or if you have things going for yourself, or if you have a beautiful family, or perfect marriage, or beautiful children, and you go through a hard time. There are always people waiting in the wings that want to see your demise. They want to see you go through hard times. It's sad, but it's true. And you have to be okay with that as well. Just keep in mind that there are those that truly love you and want you to be okay. There are those that are hurting with you, praying with you. Keep that in mind as well. Keep it in perspective. So in these times, so many things and so many people will hurt you. So the scope of forgiveness is so big. And that's why it's best to just let it go. Let it all go and give it to God. That's the best lesson that I learned in going through one of the darkest seasons of my life. Let it go and give it to God. Don't waste your energy being upset or fighting with people. Understand what life is. I understood that in my world, in my circle, ending a 30-year relationship with so many other circumstances surrounding it was big. It was newsworthy. My life was important enough to be a hot topic. I didn't get upset about people discussing and talking about my situation because I understood that it's normal. It's life. It's public. It's out there. It was shocking, and again, it was newsworthy. I remember talking to my boys when I was ending my relationship with their father, and I sat down with them and I said, don't let talk get to you. Don't let it get to you. We were a beautiful family, and people are going to talk. I said, we're still a beautiful family. Hold your head up high. Be great. Go out there and be great. Rise above the talk. Rise above the chatter. Be the best that you can be. And they did exactly that. And even in difficult situations, I'll insert this as well. If you have children, it's so important that you are in a place to teach your children how to cope properly. Give them the tools that they need to go through difficult times. They're going to have to learn how to deal with hurt. It starts in their childhood. Teach them how to cope. And I'll insert this. It's so important when you're going through difficult times to be the proper example for your children, because they are hurting too. A lot of times parents lose sight of that. They lose sight of the fact that you're not going through by yourself as a mom or a dad, but your children are hurting as well. And it's so important that you are healthy mentally and emotionally so you can impart that health into your children, pour that back into your children. Teach them how to cope with healthy tools. If you're teaching them unforgiveness and being hateful and being mad at everybody that says something and they're talking about us, and no. That does not help anything, especially your children's well-being. Like I said, you got to fix you first as a parent so you can help your children. Hold your head up high and continue being the best that you can be, and teach your children to do the same thing. It's a waste of time being mad at people for talking about you. It is a waste of time, especially if you know it's a situation that is going to be talked about. You got to rise above that. You got to be mature. Let it fly. Let it fly. The sooner you realize that you can't handle that, you can't control people talking, and it's okay and it's normal, the sooner you can move on to your healing and your genuine happiness and finding your peace. Take care of your well-being. You're already going through it. You're already going through it. Now, if you run around trying to put out every fire and every false story that's added to your already bad story, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Seriously. You'll be upset, stressed, and overwhelmed every day. And you're already overwhelmed and stressed. Don't let that be a part of it. I've watched others go through, and they were just angry and defensive and mad at the world. And I purposed in my heart that I would not be that way. With God's help, it took a lot of prayer. It took a lot of deep breaths. But I'm very happy with the fact that I learned early on in my situation, and I've also seen my mom go through things, and I thank God for her example. And I just was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not. Sometimes I've seen people where people genuinely loved them and cared about them, But they were so upset with the whole world and defensive that they missed the whole point. Everything was taken the wrong way. Everything, it's a selfish way of thinking. It's a selfish way of being. Like, don't be that way. Just breathe. Everything you hear is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's just concern. Sometimes it's someone trying to even be nice. But if you hear anything said at all, you're just spazzing out. You cannot be that way. You gotta calm down and breathe. Don't be snappy. Don't be defensive. Don't be angry, because you know why? You're giving too much power to the situation. You're letting the situation win, and you want to win. Sometimes in the midst of hurt, we don't look through a realistic view. And I get it, because sometimes life is a lot. Sometimes we go through things that are so crazy and so unexpected and unbelievable and unforgivable. But that is when we have to just draw closer to God. Let God do it. Some things we can't even wrap our minds around to begin to try to figure out, but let God do it. The best thing to do is to give it to God and find your peace. That's the goal. Find your peace. Not fighting people, not being mad at this and that person. Find your peace. Pull in. Block out the noise and pull it in. You are already dealing with enough. Don't give gossip and negative people the little energy that you have left. I don't care if it's family, friends, or the church. People are people, and sometimes people will hurt you. The thing to keep in mind is that God is also watching. Everything that we're going through, it's been sifted through the Father's hands. He's not going to put on us more than we can bear. Sometimes it's like, man, God, this is a lot. It's a lot. And sometimes it's not deserving. But you know what? God has grace for everything. If He brought you to it, He will bring you through it. Don't worry about people. Don't wish bad stuff on them because you're going through bad stuff. Pray for them. Pray for them. I had to pray so much in my season because other things were coming as well. I mean, the enemy was throwing everything he could at me. And I had to stay on my knees to love people. Lord, help me to forgive them like you've forgiven me. Help me to forgive them like I want to be forgiven. Help me to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're just people. They're just humans, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes they're a lot to deal with, and sometimes when you're already hurting, they pile more on you. But I have seen God turn things around in such a way in my life that those that were talking about me or getting joy out of, whatever they were doing towards Levon, I've seen God flip it in such a way that I felt sorry for them. I was praying for them. I wanted to give them a hug. I had to shift from my own situation and feel for them. So don't worry about that kind of stuff. Give it to God. God sees, God knows, He's got you. You do not have to fight your own battles. That's the beautiful part about it. You can give it to God, be still, and just trust Him. Focus on your peace. Another thing, go to therapy. I'm a big advocate for therapy. I know a lot of people are against it. A lot of people disagree with it, but I am a big advocate for therapy. I went. It helped me. It's a platform in which you can share your innermost guts. You can share the deepest hurt, the most personal things without having to worry about hearing it back. Find somebody that is not in your circle. I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel. I went to therapy. Make sure it's a faith-based therapy company. There may be some differences in beliefs or whatever, but make sure that it is a faith-based company. I don't really care what anyone's opinion is about it. It has helped my life tremendously. Sometimes things are so deep that no one around you can really relate to what you're going through. So you're just talking to be talking, you're sharing to be sharing, and it's not going to help you. It's just you're sharing for it to be shared further. So I'm a big advocate of therapy. Find a good therapist, a faith-based therapy company, and someone that you can share with and talk to. Get their experience. That's just my 2 cents on that subject. I personally prefer therapy with someone that I did not know. That's just my opinion. Of course, my pastor was praying for me and the church was praying for me, and some knew what I was going through. But I found a great source of help in going to therapy. It's good to talk things out for me. I think for everybody, even those that don't talk things out, they probably should be, because talking is healthy, and it really, really helped me a lot in my situation. You can't always trust people in your circle or in your church or even in your family to be confidential. And sometimes when you're healing, you don't need a lot of chatter. I have close friends, and I did confide in those that I knew I could confide in. And I could talk to my sisters, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes while you're going through the process, I remember one thing that my pastor's wife, Sister Beatrice Hampton, taught us young ladies many, many years ago. She was talking to us and she said, if you don't want it shared, don't share it, and that's deep, but I did take that to heart, and I think it's important to talk though too as well. I will say that, but bear in mind that everybody shares with someone. That's just life. It's just life, you know what I'm saying? One thing that I did that I think was very healthy and important to me. It was difficult, but at the same time it was good, and that was that I pulled in completely. I kind of just went to my own bubble, just me and God and the devil in my situation. But I pulled in, and I was just very private. I besides myself and my children and my household, no one knew what we were going through. And I had time to just really kind of deal with the blunt of things and the pain and the hurt and so by the time things were talked about and shared, I was healthy. I was in a good place. I was in a very healthy place. I was okay. You know what I'm saying? But when you're first going through something and you're talking to this person and that person, they're talking and everybody, it was talk anyways, and I wasn't even talking. By the time things got out, it was so funny. It was so many hilarious, in my situation, it was so many funny rumors that were out there, and that's just how it goes. But what helped me was understanding that this comes with the territory. I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm not going to be upset about it. Understand that you're hurt, and this is real. Hurt is real. It's deep, and it's. But you have to also understand that if you're going through something that people are aware of and they know of, it's going to be talked about. You're going to hear things, and again, just keep rising above it. So I'm going to close. I have a list of things here I have written down, and I'm going to just share these things. And I kind of already touched base on all of them, but I have 6 things here that I think will help you in the process of healing. I hope that this video has been a blessing to someone. I know that when I was going through my situation, I wish that I could find someone that could relate to it. It was kind of an unrelatable situation in my circle, but thank God he can relate to everything. God can relate to everything. But here are some things that I would like to share in hopes of being a blessing to someone else. Take care of yourself. And here's a list of things that I feel are helpful in your difficult season. Number 1, draw closer to God. That is the key, the number 1 key. You can try a lot of other things. Get you another man, go do this, start drinking, get high, go to a party, get your hair done, all that, but you're going to still have a void, because what you need in that time is you need God. Draw closer to God, number 1. Number 2, be realistic and forgiving. Understand that if you're going through a situation and it becomes public knowledge, or even if a few people know, it is going to be talked about. You're going to hear stuff. That's just life. That's just life. Be realistic and forgiving. Number 3, be careful with who you allow in that vulnerable space. Be careful. Be guarded. When you're hurting, you are vulnerable. I don't care how strong you think you are, you're vulnerable. And you will find yourself just more vulnerable than usual. Like I said, I don't consider myself a gullible or vulnerable person like that. But I realized in that moment that I am hurting and I am vulnerable. So you have to be very guarded, be very careful who you allow in your space. Protect yourself with God's help. Number 4, take care of yourself and your family. Work on your mental and emotional health. as a family. Make sure your children are okay. Make sure you're okay. If you need to talk to someone. You know what I mean? Make sure you get some help. Don't just sit there and fester. Go to therapy, talk to your pastor, talk to someone you can trust and confide in, get help. Talk to your children. Don't just leave them out there to survive on their own, because especially in a case like mine where it's a breakup of a family that's been a family for 27 years and suddenly things are changing, it affects your kids as well, not just you. Whether it's 5 years or 27 years, kids hurt too. So make sure you're not being selfish, and make sure you're making sure your kids are okay as well. Number 5, back to number 4, your kids may also need therapy. If you don't have the ability to talk to them, and I remember talking to my boys and saying, I think you guys need to go to therapy, because I was so upset that I think that they felt like they had to choose a side, and maybe they had things they wanted to express. Maybe they were hurt and they didn't feel they could come to me and express it. So I was like, you guys need to go to therapy. You know what I'm saying? Because you need to be able to talk things through. They were good, but I did offer that as a mom to them as well. So make sure your kids are okay. Don't just focus on yourself only. Number 5, do something that makes you feel good, something good, a new hobby, go back to school, do something special with your children, work on losing weight, go to the library and get a good book, go hang out with a good friend, someone that wants good for you, work on improving your house, your home, do some home upgrades, whatever it is that makes you feel good, that can make you feel better about yourself, whatever works for you, do that. Most of all, hide yourself in God. Spend more time with God. You will be amazed at what that does. And number 6, and the final one, don't say more than you need to say. You have a right to be private until you want to share. It's really nobody's business what you're going through, unless you want it to be their business. They're going to talk, they're going to assume. And I heard so many funny stories about my situation. So many, and I'll talk about that at another time, but you don't have to share anything with anybody until or unless you want to. So don't feel compelled or pressured to tell your business. You don't have to. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope that helps. One of my main reasons for starting my YouTube channel was to share my testimony and to help someone else going through a difficult time in their life, to help another young woman, older woman that is going through, or even a man, to do it the right way. Keep your integrity above all. Keep your integrity. It's easy to lose it. Keep your integrity, stay close to God, and He'll take care of the rest. I hope that this has been encouraging. God bless, and bye.